name is Swanti Wijaya. I would like to welcome everyone to this fourth and final webinar series organized by Universitas Islam International Indonesia and Deakin University. So before we begin, I would like to acknowledge the traditional country of Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nations, where this is the land where I'm coming from. So pay respect to the elders, past, present, and emerging. So the theme of the conference or the webinar series today is education and society. So just would like to introduce the two speakers for today's webinar series. So, but before we do that, I would like to just remind the participants and audiences today to mute your microphone during the presentation. And we also have the question and answer button. So, well, you are welcome to actually, type your questions throughout the sessions if you have any questions for either Bonnie or Bu Nina today. So each speaker will present for about 15 minutes. And, we will invite the speakers to share their insights in a row. And then we will, after they've finished their presentation, we will invite you and address the questions that you raised during the session. So just a reminder that, because this is a public series and it's being broadcast through YouTube live through the live streaming channel. So we would like to remind everyone to please respect everyone's different opinion and during this public lecture. So okay, so just to remind everyone that the aim of this joint lecture series is to provide a platform for speakers from both universities, so UIII and Deakin University, and also the audience today to share their opinion and expertise, especially in today's webinar series. The theme is on education and society in schools and higher education. So a gentle reminder, this is the final lecture series in 2023. And please stay tuned for the upcoming event that we will organize in 2024. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our first speaker, Associate Professor Bonnie Yim. So Associate Professor Bonnie Yim is the Associate Dean, International and Engagement of the Faculty of Arts and Education at Deakin University. Bonnie's research interests include teacher education, child development, curriculum development and evaluation, cross-cultural studies, and engagement in learning. Bonnie is an active researcher and has published widely in these areas. She also undertakes research that focuses on positive outcomes of learners in the Asia-Pacific region through collaborative partnerships with non-government organizations or NGOs and philanthropic organizations. Her research is framed by mixed method analysis, teacher professionalism, and social cultural theories. So today, Associate Professor Bonnie Yim will share her insights about workforce participation in the lecture titled Babies and Bosses, a case study of education industry partnership models for working parents. So to Associate Professor Bonnie Yim, the screen is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Wanti. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good day, or good evening, depends on where you are. I hope you can hear me and you should be able to see me by now. And I'm going to share screen and you will be able to see a front screen of a PowerPoint start with babies and bosses. Now, it has been a joy working together with my Deakin colleagues and also UIII colleagues in the past 12 months. Time flies. This is our fourth webinar. It's so exciting. And it has been an honor to present to all of you and share some of the findings of this very exciting and unique project. And also, I look forward to learning more from Nina's presentation as well. So I'm going to share part of this research project, but before that, I would like to acknowledge all the involved children and adults in this research projects, and also would like to say thank you to my research team members, Professor Louise Patch. She's also part of the Deakin team. What I'm going to share in the next roughly 15 minutes is part of the whole project, and it's actually quite a large project because it involves so many children, so many organizations. But if you would like to know more about the whole project, welcome to contact me. I'm very happy to have further discussion with all of you. So in the next roughly 15 minutes, I'm going to cover background, design, and some of the findings. As I mentioned earlier, it's only part of the big study. So let's start with background. This research situated in Hong Kong, which is one of the most busy city in the world. For those who have been to Hong Kong, you know that it's a very densely populated area. Currently, they have 7.3 million people, and the GDP per capita is roughly 49,000 US dollar, which is about 10 times more than Indonesia when I look at it the other day. Now the land size, we are 10 times smaller than Indonesia. So those are the very interesting background information for you to think about when you consider some of the findings of this research project, which is about parents, children, teacher, and education in this very unique region. Here are some of the background information about early childhood education for you as well. So you can see on this PowerPoint slide, there are two types of early childhood settings in Hong Kong. Number one is a kindergarten, mainly for children 3 to 5 years old. The other type is childcare settings, which is sort of like a long day care center. So you can see some kindergarten will combine kindergarten half-day program to a long daycare childcare programs. So this is the approximate number. And also these are the teachers ratio. Now the key difference between kindergarten and childcare center is that kindergarten usually support children from 3 to 5 years old and half-day program. Childcare center usually for children under 3 years old, and this is a full-day program. Now, as I mentioned earlier, they can combine together, okay? And at the same time, they have different types of teachers, workers, professional. They can, again, mix and match as well. Depends on the setting and the registration. All these numbers are fully accredited and registered in the Hong Kong government. So for background information, this one is about baby and bosses. Now, where are the bosses then? That means most of them are working parents. They have children, and some of them may have more than one children as well. So workforce participation is very important for economic development and also the financial security of family. As part of the way to grow the business, it's very important to support the recruitment and retention by balancing their staff work and childcare responsibility. There are so many different ways to help working parents to support a work-family balance. Most of them will work with an external early childhood organization and to provide what we call a work-based children's services. I will define work-based children's services later. So you can get sort of like a childcare services located inside the organization or very close, or may even use part of their land. Now, this type of partnership have been well researched in the Western context, but when I and the research teams start brainstorming some years ago, we find that there are very, very limited or even no research in some of the Asia-Pacific context. Most of the research across the world consistently shows that working parents need support, and they do not want to choose between career and being a carer in the family. So study further confirmed that working parents may lead to happy children as well, because children's mental health and happiness depends on the environment and also sometimes depends on the economic stability of a family. So this study aims to advocate and support the global trend of emphasizing the importance of business to support the whole workforce, including both fathers and mothers, and to promote a work-family balance. In this study, work-family balance is defined as the degree in which one can fulfill the role of an employee in working in an organization and also as a member in the family. Now, this is the definition for the work-based setting in this current research. It means the provision of children's services in partnership between commercial or social organization employer and external non-profit making early childhood education organization. So this is a key focus for my study. So I'm going to share some of the background research. So you can see these are the participants. One group is actually the same group. So you can see from the left-hand side, the commercial social organization, usually we include employers and employees. Now, this group, the employees, at the same time, they are the parents of the early childhood organization. And that organization, as I mentioned earlier, it works in partnership with that particular employers or the organization. The early childhood settings can be physically located in parts of that organization's land or in the building or some of their area. Now, this group of people involved in the childcare settings, some of them are employed by the early childhood settings, such as the manager, principal, and teachers. They are employed by the organization of the early childhood settings, and the employees are employed by the organization. But these two are exactly the same group of people that we are working and talking about. So this project involved 3 selected work-based early childhood settings in Hong Kong. Each organization have approximately 3,000 to 78,000 employees in the organization. So you can see some of them are very, very big. Now, to protect their identity and to safeguard their privacy, so you can see I remove most of their identifiable data to the extent that you won't be able to identify who they are and where they are. But I can tell that all 3 of them are physically located in Hong Kong. And these 3 organizations, they work with the early childhood organization for some times, but they don't have any research. That's why we start off the conversation of, well, how can we document such a very unique partnership model? So you can see one of them even started in 1993. The other one is a bit new, 2017. And each of them serve different age group based on the partnership model, the need of the parents, and the size of the site. That means how big is the location and what are the aims for this type of work-based settings. So you can see each of them have a different focus, but all of them work in partnership between commercial or social organization and educational settings. Now, I'm going to show you a few photos, again, to try to put you into context. So I removed some of the identifiable details, including some of the name or some of the sign. So in this case, that mainly to give you a rough idea of how the settings look like. And all 3 of them are located inside the land of that commercial or social organization. So I give you a rough idea of how this setting look like, and they serve children all the way from birth to 6 years old. And you can see lots of trees, outdoor settings, very bright sunshine, natural sunlight, and also the very child-friendly furnitures. So you can see these are parts of the site. And at the same time, you can see some of the housing estates just next to it. So it's right in the middle of the city. And Hong Kong is quite a city area, except you move to the very, very rural or regional area. Otherwise, most of them you can see road, bridges, just right outside or near the setting. Okay, so that will put you into the context. And this one even have a farm, very lovely place for children to do the gardening. And also because it's situated at the same place of the workplace, the parents can actually come stop by anytime, which is really exciting, one of the selling point as well. So these projects have 3 objectives. Number 1, to provide valuable baseline data about the provision and the practices of some of the work-based children's services for children aged birth to 6. Number 2, to enhance the contextual understanding of curriculum program and operational practices. Number 3, to promote a sustainable work-family balance culture and to foster high-quality early childhood education. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this is a quite big research project, and you can see there are quite lots of different instruments, participants, both quantitative and qualitative research. But because of time, I'm going to focus on qualitative findings only, and also I will focus on the teachers and also the center principal and also the center leaders for some of their views in the challenges and opportunity. I'm going to show you the research question in the next slide. But again, highlights to you this project, again, conducted during the COVID time, and it has been a bit of impact on the whole collection, data analysis, and also the engagement with the partners. So out of the 5 research questions, I'm going to share some of the findings of one of the research questions, which is this one. What are the opportunities and challenges as perceived by early childhood professionals or providers in terms of the curriculum program and operational practices in these selected work-based early childhood settings in Hong Kong? So here are the findings. So I'm going to share with you some of the qualitative findings. And from the opportunities, I will focus on the principals and the center manager first. So I selected 3 quotes from them. Again, if you are interested, let me know. I'm very happy to talk more after the presentation. So you can see one of the principal or center manager said, well, she was actually very impressed by the involvement of fathers in this center, because they are very happily brought their children back to the center, even they may mess up their suits and tie. Now, one of the organization, some fathers actually need to be on uniform. So they usually iron the uniform very, very nicely, but they hold their children, they bring their children to the center. Sometimes it's actually mess it up, but the fathers, they don't care. So they just love it. And the attendance rate is very high because they need to work anyway. So that's why they bring the children to the center. Now, attendance rate is quite a key issue here in Australia. But if this is a model that can help children's attendance rates to go up, this is actually something very good for us to consider. Now, parents has been also very supporting to each other. Why? Because they are colleagues. They know each other. They went to the same office. So that's why they can look after other children if needed. And they are very well educated and very committed. Now, parents are also very active in the drop-off and pick-up routines because they all go to the same office, go to the same site. And that's why sometimes, they will visit the center during office hour. One of the sites even provide a place for breastfeeding for under 2 children. So some parents can actually come down from the office. I use the word come down because most of the buildings in Hong Kong are high-rise buildings. That's why they take the lift, will come down to the childcare center and breastfeed their children. And it's very easy to get volunteer because they can do such volunteer work during the short lunch break. So a bit of arrangement would definitely help them. From the teacher's point of view, these are some of the opportunity. For example, they see that parents have very, very strong network. If you need to share some news, you send to one parent, they will spread across the whole team because they know each other. They have their own network. And also teachers understand parents' work schedule because they meet a lot, and the employer and the childcare organization share information. And that's why they can really arrange pickup and drop off time much easier. And the participation rate is very high. So these are the opportunities, which are the good things. Now I'm going to share some of the challenges that were perceived by the principal and the childcare managers. For example, budget planning can be difficult because it has higher operational and maintenance costs in those very expensive office land. So Hong Kong, as I mentioned, is a very small region and the land price is very high. If you want to keep some of the staff, that means they have to locate it in a very easily travel location. That's why the price of the land is very high. Now, and the other things is that, well, the parents are so well educated, some of them, that means they have their own theory and principle. So as a teachers, you need to be really confident about how to advocate for your children. And the demand is always higher than supply because we have more parents. They would love to put the children in a convenience place, but they always see that as a happy problem. And the other things that the teachers perceived as a challenges is that parents have many experience. That means you need to prepare quite a lot of different topics to engage with them. The other challenges is that if the employer and the employee finish the work in that organization, the children will need to move out of the school because the school only provides services for the employees. So those are the things that the teachers will need to prepare, and also to have a wide network. If the employees left the organization, where can we suggest the children to go? And the other one is quite an interesting one. You can see the blue one is that, well, when they organize outdoor activities, the parents may easily see them. So they will just keep looking, and some children may cry because they see their parents, but their parents are not actually picking them up. So, and also some of them are in work long shift hours, one of the organization. So those are the things that we need to work together. So these are the final two slides. Number one, implication to practices. So you can see for this type of setting, very strong homeschool cooperation can easily be arranged. Number two, children have very direct access to some of the community resource. For example, children can just walk to the hospital. Children can just go straight to the bank. So these are all parts of the very unique resources. Some children even were invited to draw some of the artwork and put into the hospital ceiling, because some children, they lie on bed for 24/7. So they work together with the childcare center to do some of the drawing and put it into the ceiling of the wall. So for children who lie on the bed, they can look at it. Now, pay attention to, they are hanging on the ceiling, not on the wall, because some patient can only lie on the bed in a hospital. So this is the final slide. So the two key takeaways. Number one, modern workforce is one in which workers of all gender juggle caring responsibility with paid work. So it's very important to support working parents within the workplace so as to make sure they showcase their full potential in the workforce. So thank you so much for listening, and I'm going to stop the presentation and then I will hand it over to Wanti. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks so much, Bonnie, for your insightful lecture today. So I also want to invite the participants and the audience. If you have any questions for Bonnie, please feel free to type your questions in the chat box, and we will share and discuss that with Bonnie after the second presentation. So it's a great pleasure for me to introduce the second speaker of our webinar today, Professor Nina Nurmila. So let me introduce Professor Nina Nurmila briefly. So Professor Nina Nurmila is the Dean of the Faculty of Education at Universitas Islam International Indonesia. and she is also the Gender and Islamic Study Professor at the State Islamic University or UIN Bandung. Professor Nina has an extensive experience and she held various research fellows positions in Australia, the United States of America, and the Netherlands, to name a few. She's the author of Women, Islam and Everyday Life, Renegotiating Polygamy in Indonesia. She has published several articles on gender and Islam in international journal and book chapters. So Professor Nina Nurmila will present a lecture titled Women's Leadership in Islamic Higher Education. So Professor Nina Nurmila, the screen is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Wanti, for introducing me. Okay, I really enjoy Bonnie's presentation and imagining what happened in Hong Kong to the children. Now, in relation to that, I would like to present about women's leadership in Islamic higher education. And this is based on my research conducted in 2020, but I already updated some of the data. Okay, let me start.
Bu Nina, before
Yes.
you begin, just to let you know that it's not in the full screen.
Oh, it's not in the full screen. Okay. What should I do? Okay.
Slideshow.
Okay. I will start again from. How about now?
Yes, it's good. Thank you.
Good. Okay, thank you. Okay, so here is the title. I have already mentioned that the title of my research is Women's Leadership in Islamic Higher Education. And as the introduction, Indonesia is part of the global world. And starting 2015, Indonesia has committed to join and want to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, and which is Goal 5 of gender equality. And within this goal, there is a 50 planet 50-50 to be achieved in 2030. This means that the leadership should be 50% women, 50% men. Yeah. The problem is that in the reality, like in Islamic higher education, at the moment, in 59 Islamic higher education, only 7 who become a rector. So this is only about 12%. It is still far to go into 50%. And here in this presentation, I would like to highlight some of the barriers for women to be a leader, like patriarchal attitude toward women, and then literal interpretation of the Quran, and meritocratic policy. Yeah, and because of these 3 barriers, so this presentation aims to propose affirmative policy to support women leadership in Islamic higher education. First, I would like to discuss about patriarchal attitude toward women. Yeah. So let me define first what is patriarchy. Patriarchy is the system which put men in the center and position others, such as women and children, in relation to the patriarch or adult male. Yeah. So within this patriarchal system, women are in subordinate position to men, and the position is only as servant, sexual object, not being regarded as a fully human being who are capable to be leader. Yeah. And even though many women are educated today, they are being seen as subordinate to men and being seen as incapable to be a leader. Yeah. And the second barrier is literal interpretation of the Quran. Yeah, there is a famous verse on the leadership. Ar-rijalu qawwamuna 'alan nisa bima fadallahu ba'dhum 'ala ba'din wa bima anfaqu min amwalihim, etc. And this is literally interpreted as follows. Yeah, that's qawamun. It is actually this is the verse about family. Yeah, not about the public leadership. Yeah, but based on the family leadership, people often interpret it that because men can be the leader of the family, then men also can be the leader in public. And also for the women, because women cannot be leader in the family, then women cannot be a leader in public. And the third barrier is meritocratic policy. Yeah. In this case, I would like to discuss about the Peraturan Menteri Agama. This is the Ministry of Religious Affairs regulation in relation to the requirements to be a rector. Yeah, it is stated in Peraturan Menteri Agama 68 2015 that the person who want to become a rector, he or she must be a civil servant, believing in God, maximum age of 60, and having managerial experience in higher educational institution with the lowest position of being head of department with minimum of 2 years. So I highlight in bold number 4 because many women cannot apply for the position of director because of the absence of this experience. How could women apply for the position of director if they are regarded as subordinate, and then positions seems to be like automatically given only to men? Yeah. Other requirements, this is easy to be achieved by men and women, like submitting health certificate, not being in the process of punishment, not being convicted, and then she or he need to apply for the position of director in return, and then submitting a statement that about leadership vision, and then quality improvement program of the institution. So this is easy to be done, except number 4. And also there is special requirements that to be a rector in the Sekolah Tinggi Islamic Higher Education, the person should have a doctor, but for the university, the person should be a professor. So now I would like to deal with these 3 barriers. I would like to argue that Islam is anti-patriarchal religion. This is based on my reading of Asma Barlas. In her book Believing Women in Islam, Asma Barlas argues that Islam is anti-patriarchal religion. But the Quran is being read using patriarchal lenses, yeah. And Asma Barlas used the case of Abraham, who left the father. Yeah, he left the father in obedience to God. This case of Abraham, who destroyed the statues made by his father, is showing ridicule to the father, and the father is the center of the patriarchal system. This means Islam is anti-patriarchal system. So this is using the case of Abraham. Asma Barlas argues that Islam is anti-patriarchal. In addition, Asma Barlas also used the case of Maryam, who was at the time of the pregnancy of Ali Imran, the mother of Mary. At that time, the mother, because she was pregnant in a very old age, she promised to God that she will dedicate the child when he or she is born to just worship God. She expected that the baby would be male in order to serve God in the Baitul Maqdis. Surprisingly, the baby was Mary, a woman. But to her surprise, that God received that promise. Fataqabbalaha biqabulin hasanin. So that's what the Quran says, that God accepted Mary to dedicate her life in the Baitul Maqdis to worship God. This shows that God, against male center, and pro women, and this is the second argument used by Asma Barlas to support that Islam is anti-patriarchal system. And also, when we look at the Quran, which is less famous than Ar-Rijalu Qawwamun 'alan Nisa, in the At-Taubah 71, it is mentioned that men and women can be equal partner, ya. Wal mu'minuna wal mu'minat ba'duhum awliya'u ba'din. So this is the believing men and believing women is ally to each other or leader to each other. This support equality to be a leader, ya. This means that the believing man can be the leader for the believing women, and the believing women can be the leader for the believing men. So this is supporting gender equality and to allow women to be leader. But this verse is not as famous as Ar-Rijalu Qawwamuna 'alan Nisa, which is interpreted using patriarchal lenses. So this is the translation of the Quranic verse which support for women to be a leader. So that believing men and believing women are allies for one another. And because the Quranic verse 434 is interpreted using patriarchal lenses, I would like to share Nasaruddin Umar's point of view on reading the Quran from equal gender perspectives. In his dissertation, Nasaruddin Umar differentiate between the term gender and sex in the Quran. And he informed us that the Quran used the term dhakar for male and untha for female, biological. The Quran uses rijal or the masculine and nisa, feminine. This is for gender. And in the Quranic verse 434, the Quran doesn't use dhakar, but the Quran uses rijal. This means gender, not sex. So whoever fulfill the two requirements in the Quranic in the Quran mentioned in the Quran 434, that's that the person has superiority over his or her spouse in terms of income or education. And the second criteria is that the person has given some of his or her wealth to financially support for the family. So whoever fulfill these two requirements, either male or female, can be rijal. But dhakar remains only dhakar if he cannot fulfill these two requirements. Untha, the female, if she fulfill these two requirements, such as she has higher income or higher level of education, and she spends the money to support the family, then she can become a rijal. And the verse An-Nisa 34 mentions not adzakaru qawamun 'alan nisa, but ar-rijalu qawamun 'alan nisa. This means the rijal can be either male or female. And the third is that the barrier of women to be director in the Islamic higher education in Indonesia is the meritocratic policy. Meritocratic policy is treating the person the same way, based on capability. So this is good, a good start for justice, but justice not necessarily by treating people in different categories in the same way, So men and women are in the same category, but in patriarchal system, women can be overburdened with so many patriarchal expectations, such as serving the husband, taking care of the children, doing houseworks. Therefore, meritocratic policy is not enough for women and needs affirmative policy. In order women can, we can achieve a planet 50-50, like 50% women to be a leader and 50% men to be a leader. So this is what it means by equality, treating people the same way on the left, and equity, treating people differently based on the needs. Because on the left, the man is not, doesn't need any support. He can see the field. But for the smallest child, the child need to support 2 steps, in order to have access to watch the game, So this is equity. Equity is to ensure everyone has access, and by treating differently, by giving more support to the most needed person, And here, if we look at women in a patriarchal society, there are so many barriers that women face before going to the office. They are expected to do houseworks. yeah, while men go straight. The food has been provided, so a lot of support. And based on my research, I can show that, for example, here there are two female candidates, and two of them can go through in UIN Yogyakarta. So and then there is no barrier for men. 7 candidates can go through the selection of the rector. But when we look at in Jakarta, there are 2 female professors applied for the position. Only one can go through the selection because she didn't have any 2 years experiences. The same with in Bandung, 2 applicants, 2 female applicants, but only one can go through the process because one of them didn't fulfill the requirements of having 2 years experience. The same in IAIN Bukit Tinggi, there are 3 women's applicants, only one go through the process. This is not also in UIN Palembang, 2 female professor applied for the position, only one can go through. And this is not happening to the male. See, the number of applicants mostly male, and all male have the requirements of having at least 2 years managerial position. So this means we need affirmative policy for women to become rector or to add more women in the rectorate position. Yeah. And based on this research, I would like to propose affirmative policy by giving exception for women to just go through the selection without having 2 years experiences in the managerial position. And my proposal is for the amendment or the revision of the Peraturan Menteri Agama 68 2015 is here, for example, on the left is the original policy, and the right one is the proposed revision. For example, the requirement is a civil servant who has become a lecturer, and then here especially women. So women are encouraged. And this one, number 4, the most, one of the barriers for women to become leaders being accepted. So this is I propose to add accept women. And because the number of men much higher, the male applicants to be a rector who are male are much higher than the number of female. So here I would like to encourage participation of the women to be applicants of the rector by adding one more article that the representation of female prospective rector in each campus is 50% from all the proposed prospective rectors. This means if there are 6 men applied for the position of rector, that there should be 3 women apply for the position of the rector also. But if there are 10 men and then only 2 women, so a male who can apply for the position of rector is only 2 times the number of women. If the number of women applicant is 2, then only 4 can go to the process. This will encourage female applicants to be a rector, and hopefully will increase the number of female rectors in Indonesia by 2030. Hopefully 50%, but it's still under 20%. I think that's all my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Prof. Nina, for your presentation. It's really good to see your plan to actually increase the number of female rector applications in Indonesia, so increase the leadership of female in Indonesian higher education, especially in Islamic universities. So this is a time now where we're going to discuss the questions and answer session. So I noticed there was already one question for Bonnie from Supriyono, and we encourage you to also post your questions, or you can also unmute your microphone if you would like to actually ask the questions orally rather than typing your questions. So let's start by the questions for Bonnie from Supriyono. So Bonnie, you have the question. So the question in summary is about the elaboration for the father's involvement in childcare in the Hong Kong context, especially on the aspect of facilitating the children's early learning journey. So the question from Supriyono, are there any unique ways that fathers do in Hong Kong to support and facilitate children's learning based on Bonnie's study? Over to you, Bonnie.
Thank you, Wanti. Thank you for the question. And how are you, Supriyono? I can't see you here, but I hope you can see me waving to you. So very good question. Now, I just need to highlight the word father may not necessarily equals to a man. So it really depends on how you understand the word fathers here, okay? So it can be a male, it can be a female. But I think the question about fathers' involvement is a very important one. So based on the research study, I can see that number one, fathers have higher level of participations because let's say they drop off and the pickup is part of their job anyway. That means they need to go to the office. That's why they bring the children together with them to this center before they go to their office because it's located in the same site. So that's why the participation, engagement in the conversation with the teachers and the center manager have much, much higher than other normal setting. The other one is about the I would say participation. For example, during the office hour, the parents can actually come down or go into the center very easily because it's part of the site. So even during lunchtime, some parents, particularly fathers, they will just come down and say hi to the children, or even they can just be there as a volunteer. So higher level of participation as well. And then the third one is about the frequency. Now, in some of the traditional setting, father might probably only pick up children if they can, or attend some of the parents' evening when they can. But because it's now right in their office building, that's why it's much, much convenient for them to be involved and more often involved in those activities as well. And I think the other things is the peer influence. Now, as a father, if you see that the next father sitting next to you, okay, that means your colleagues, the father sitting next to you also go and pick up the children or even hold the children, went down to the center to visit, you have a higher opportunity to learn or to interact with your colleagues to the extent that you will also do the same, or you are the one who influence your colleagues. So that type of peer support or peer learning or their chit chat among colleagues, definitely much, much higher as compared to some of the traditional childcare settings. So in summary, the participation and engagement and also the partnership with the center, the frequency and also the peer support between colleagues, that means the father and his colleagues in the center or the office, is definitely much higher.
Thanks, Bonnie, for the very comprehensive answer to the question. I would like to also invite other questions. So that we have a question for Prof. Nina, Bu Nina, from Supriyono as well, but also from the other participant, Mahmud. So maybe I'll start with the question from Supriyono. So, Bu Nina, there is a significant number of women now who are becoming leaders in Indonesian higher education, either rectors or deans or head of study program. So how do you think that the workplace policies facilitate women's leaders in caring for their children while fulfilling their educational leadership role? Do you think it has catered to the women leaders' needs on the matter like, caring for children and family? That's sort of like a question that connects those two presentations, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much for the question, Supriyono. I think if we can see the age of women who become professor like me. I only got my professorship in 2017 at the age of 48. That's no longer the age of reproductive age. So mostly the women who are in the top career position, I think they're already senior, not dealing with children. But for the younger female lecturers, I can see that support is still needed. Yeah, for example, by providing daycare in the universities. This is not common yet in Indonesia. This is not because they do not have any facilities, but it is about the mindset that actually this is early childhood education which should be provided in every workplace in order mother can continue breastfeeding while working. So we need to struggle much on this to implement that in every workplace. We need a daycare. I think the case that Boni presented is like ideal. Yeah, when we work and we are happy that our children being looked after well in a safe place, not like in Indonesia, for example, we need to like the babies should be taken care of. The housework worker is like do not know the hygienic aspect, the concept early childhood education like that. So we still need to educate public, especially decision makers. I think if there are more female rectors, this kind of things might be easier to be advocated. Thank you, Supriyono.
Thank you, Prof. Nina. Before I pass on the next question to Prof. Nina, Bonnie, do you have anything else to add or any comments to add to that question?
Thank you, Wanti. Thank you, Nina. I think, well, the two presentation, your presentation and my presentation, I think it's just worked so well together in today's context. I think, well, yours is really looking at the high level in terms of the policy guidelines. What I'm looking at is the infrastructure. So they need to have both the hardware and the software work together to support the full potential of the workforce. It can be female, it can be male or female. In this case, we're looking at women. Definitely, I think it's more about working together so as to make sure everyone can really look at the success of the career. They can see that career and work can both work together. They don't need to make a choice. Why we need to make a choice between career and family? If this is something we can adjust, or we can promote, or we can advocate.
Yeah, I would like to add something also that I'm happy to support that in Triple IU under the Faculty of Education, we have a daycare. This is to support not only students, but also young staffs at Triple IU to be happy carrying their children on campus. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a very good policy. Yeah, very family friendly. Okay, so there is another question for Bu Nina, from Nina. So this question from Mahmoud Rahimi. So in terms of stories and experience of the success of women leaders in Islamic higher education, it's an inspiration, and you'd like to make sure that I think it's not really a question. I think it's a comment about the fact that there are so many inspiring stories about female leaders and female rectors in Islamic higher education. So congratulations to Prof. Nina and all the leaders at UIII, the female colleagues that's all there. There is a question from Fadila. She's interested in the terms of male and female in the Quran, and then asked about what about the distribution of waris, Prof. Nina, and then remembering the verse about the waris, using the term unsa and zakar and not rijal and nisa. We know that justice in the family will lead to justice in education and society too. So any comments from Bu Nina?
Yeah, I believe that Islam is the religion of justice, and the division of inheritance is very much contextual at the time of the revelation. At the time of the revelation, the responsibility to provide for the family is to the man. Yeah, that's why the rights is balanced with the responsibility. But this is not attached to sex. So whoever responsible for the family, that person, either male or female, can have a higher share. Yeah, so. This is a balance between rights and responsibility, not attached to the sex, but attached to the responsibility. للذكر مثل هذه الأنثيين, so that's the verse on the inheritance. It is also related very much with gender expectation that the dhakar should be the rijal and be responsible for the family. But if in reality the dhakar cannot be the rijal, cannot be responsible for the family, then the higher portion of inheritance goes to the person who is responsible for the family, either male or female. So that's what I understand, that Islam is the religion which support justice. Thank you.
Thanks, Bunina. So there is a question for, I think, both of Bonnie and also Bunina, perhaps, because Bunina also mentioned that UIII has the childcare. As a question about, has it been shown an impact that workplace childcare help employers to retain their employees? So this is from Michelle Juan for Bonnie and Bunina. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Based on my research of those 3 selected settings, yes, the employees are very satisfied with the settings and also the flexibility, especially for under 3 children. That was the time, as Lina mentioned, it would be great for the mothers can easily come and breastfeed the children. And also, under 3 children can get sick easily. So in some of the setting, they even put a nurse inside the settings. So in this case, they link education, health, and work together. So it definitely increased the satisfaction and also the retention. What do you think, Lina, at your end?
Yeah, I think I agree. But if you want me to give like more valid data, we have Ibu Tati, who is also the user of the daycare, and then Shifa and Mahmoud. You might give a testimony briefly whether you are happy with the daycare or please.
That's great. You can invite the real participants.
Yes, to give testimony. What do you think, Ibu Tati, Mahmoud, Shifa, Hanggama? Are you there?
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, I'm there. Can you hear me?
Yes, your voice is very clear.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. And we are very happy that we have the daycare facility for our son. And because the beginning of our studies, we had very difficulty handling our son. So now we are pretty comfortable because of the daycare facilities from morning up until the 5 o'clock. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mahmoud. Yes, Mahmoud and Hanggama, husband and wife, do a PhD at the same time with little boys. So when the daycare was not open yet, we often see Hanggama carrying the baby, and the baby is just on the stroller outside the class, sometimes in the class. And maybe Hanggama was lack of sleep and very hard to find time to study. But now I hope both of you are progressing well, hopefully.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
That's great to hear. Thank you. I think that we have one last question, unfortunately, because of the limited time. So the last question from Bello is for both of Bunina and Bonnie, I think, which has the higher impact of employees' job satisfaction? And I don't know whether you have the data to support this. Having the childcare, daycare within the organization that the person works for, or outside the organization. So I'm not too sure whether the data allows you to answer this comparative question, Bonnie.
Okay, maybe I will start. Thank you, Wanti, and thank you for the question. Yeah, we don't have the detailed data yet, but it's a very interesting research question. I might probably develop another research project based on that. Very good idea. Now, based on the 3 selected settings that we have, it's not about yes or no. That means it's not about whether we have or have not, because all of them have the setting. But what they're looking at is good or bad. So you can see the difference. That means they are looking for centers which are good centers. That's why when we work out the partnership between education and the employers, we need to make sure both of them are in high quality and they are committed to this type of partnership. As I mentioned earlier, the operational cost is relatively high simply because of the land. So I think those are the commitment that we need to work together with both organizations to make sure they are good and then they are exist in the land. So Nina, how about
Thanks,
your end?
Bonnie. Yeah, Bunina, anything to add?
Yes, I read Khairul, Anwar asking a questions about this is follow-up question about the inheritance because I reinterpret the Quranic verse 434 on leadership from the gender perspective, and also I answered the question about the inheritance about social acceptability. So we need to understand that we are diverse and not all the people can agree with the interpretation. Some people interpret the Quran literally, and they are happy with that. While I tend to agree with the contextual approach because this can give justice, in the current context. So my reinterpretation of the division of inheritance might not be acceptable for the society in general, but well, in terms of inheritance, I agree with my father. My father told me never expect any inheritance from us, but use our money when we live for your education. And when we gain education, we gain many things, and we do not expect for inheritance. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bunina. And I know that issue can be quite controversial for
Yes.
many people. So let's sort of like accept that we might have diverse views, but we also have to have respect for each other's views. So with that note, I think I would like to invite you to join me in thanking Professor Nina and Associate Professor Bonnie Yim for the very insightful lecture today. And also thank you for all the questions from the audience and your engagement. It has been a great program for UIII and Deakin to work together in this joint webinar series. We have 4 this year, and we look forward to continue and strengthening this partnership. And thank you again for your commitment, because I know it's quite late to stay for this webinar, and then for your engagement. So hopefully we can see you again soon next year, and then I wish everyone a safe and relaxing holiday and a great year in 2024. So we look forward to seeing you again in the next program. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Could we have photos first together?
Oh, yeah, sure. Forgot
Before
about
we
that.
leave. Could we have like screens? Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
Okay, that's good. 1,
Maybe,
2.
yeah, the UIII colleague can guide us.
Yes, okay. I have already taken, but I can take one more time.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Okay, did it. And I will share. Thank you very much all.
Okay. Thank you so much, everyone.
Yes,
Bye.
bye. Oh, I do not take it for the whole.
Huh? Okay.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you,
Thank
Wanti.
you. Yeah, sorry, Bunina. I think everyone started to leave.